Let me just say that art is my therapy. Art is my therapy because I find out that, which is why I created the kind of space that I use for my studio. Every time I want to escape, this is where I come to. And really, you have to escape from many things, especially in the city of Lagos. So if I want to escape or I want to become sane, I walk into this place, I do my work, I get therapy from. So I usually say that art is my therapy. I was born in Anambra State, Enugu at that time. It had not been divided, and of course I grew up in the eastern part of Nigeria, schooled there too, Port Harcourt. But for art, really, I didn't study art at all in the primary school, in the secondary school. I wasn't allowed to. I was very artistic. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't encouraged to, because again, our parents didn't know that art could be a career. And so they used to feel that, you did art because you couldn't do any other thing. But unfortunately for everyone, but fortunately for me, every time I was sent to do other things, I returned to art. So that's how I grew up. Festive period, Christmas, all the New Year's, I would just get into the room and make cards, lots of cards. And I always spent my time cutting this. If you get into the room, when everybody had gone out, I'll paint the wall. It gave me a lot of strokes, but I couldn't help it. I'll paint figures, I'll do the copied cartoons on the wall of the house. And so it was that choking for everyone, apart from myself who was enjoying this thing. After 2 years of OND, I decided that, look, I think enough is enough. Tried to let my parents know, they refused. And so I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to write the exams from. So I started secondary school again, really. That's what it means, because I had to go do the WAEC and get my results to be able to do the JAM for art. And eventually I did that. And thank God, I got an admission to University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And so I disappeared. Nobody knew I had not continued here for HND. Everybody thought he had gone to do 1 year IT, and then from there he's going to. But I had already enrolled in Nsukka. Art was relegated to the place for dropouts, for people who couldn't match up with the grades for other things. My father was working in the parastatal, my mother was a trader, and so they weren't very enlightened, didn't go to the university, and didn't know certain things. Many people didn't know too at that time. If you're really an artist, you will have something in you that will push you all the time to do art. So before I started to see professional artists or paint in that form, I made cards. I designed the walls in my house. I went to buy poster colors, paint cartoon characters on the wall. That earned me some really good traction. I have them. They are still there today, because at the point when my parents now understood how this guy felt. When they painted the houses, they didn't remove the drawings. They're still there till now. So I can take even the pictures of those, with the dates, 88, 80 something, they were still there. I know that I did, of course I did Tom and Jerry. I did Tom chasing Jerry everywhere, and Jerry always winning the battles. I know I did that. I know I did one guy who had a trumpet. I can't remember who it was, but he was always carrying a trumpet, red hat. Really can't remember. But I know that I did those. Then I did Donald Duck. I was sure of that. I did Donald Duck. I did Donald Duck. And a few other characters. I watched cartoons when I was watching cartoons. And so then I copied some comics. They were very popular, war comics, I can't remember the name, but they were very popular. The Germans, you see where they write Main Guard. We didn't know what they meant, but it was an exclamation in German, and we copied them with their caps. It was beautiful. That's where I know that's where I started trying to do art. So we get the wood very raw like this, because we want to get our own measurement. So we get it raw, and then of course we cut it with this cutting machine. From there, we take it to the planing machine where we plane it to the exact size that we require. And as I said earlier on, everybody here knows exactly what we require, the size, they're already professional, they understand wood, planing, cutting, make it perfect. Because when you hang it on the wall and it is not even, it will not balance well. So it is very important. After we have done and we've gotten the size we want, we now move to the sketching stage, which is what happens here. We don't transfer sketches because I realize that at the end of the day, you never get what you sketch. So this is the sketch. This is what happens. Everybody here understands that this is what we do. So once I sketch like this and want to work, everybody will follow what we have sketched because that's exactly what we want to happen. So we sketch, Now the sketch is changed too. Sometimes along the line we'll stop. Okay, this is not what I want because this thing is, the idea comes and it flows. So I quickly change but for now, this is the first idea that, I had. And so we're going to try to get it done. After we have sketched, then the next thing that it goes through the carving, which I'm going to demonstrate in a bit. This is a very vital part of this business because why I want to emphasize is because it is what keeps this wood straight. Wood bends, it doesn't matter how dry wood is. If it gets exposed to a lot of change in weather, cold and hot, especially AC, air condition, it's been air conditioned rooms, many of them, it bends. So what we do is we try to straighten them out. So you see, we have tried to put straight boards under. And then with these straight boards, what we do is we now screw them to the straight boards. When we screw them to the board, we let them stay for weeks. Now what will happen is that when they dry like that, they stay like that forever. Without those straight boards under, it's difficult to get any wood to stay. Anyone when you hang on the wall, if you check them, they've already started to twist a little. That's what happens to wood. Especially in this humid temperature, when a temperature that is cold and hot, it rains and all that. So we use this to stabilize the wood for, sometimes it goes for a week, sometimes for 2 weeks. Because of the kind of artist I found myself as growing up, I was never conformed to a style. Never will. I always changed. Something happened because I remember in my first year as a student in Nsukka, my very first year, I used fire to burn some paper. I didn't like the way the fire. It was after I graduated I knew that people did that. So I had that kind of mentality. I wanted to try things. I used to do colors on canvas. They were very texturized because I always loved texture. But wood came in handy when I started to look for a medium that was accommodating. Wood is very romantic. Wood is a lover. Wood will take and wood will give. Wood is considered as others, and that's my nature. And so I was just led to something that is like me. And so we agree. Wood will take metal, wood will take paint, wood will take paper, wood will take glue, wood will take rubber, wood will take anything. But the other ones will not take. You see, metal will refuse to take wood at some point. You have to attach it somehow. But wood will receive, and you nail him, and that's okay. That's okay. So wood is like, we have the same nature. And so it was easy to agree with wood at a point. Because when I was growing up as an artist, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I could do any kind of art because I enjoyed it. So, but slowly and steadily, something began to call you. Something that is you, that looks like you, that feels like you, that behaves like you. You guys look for my materials everywhere, especially the aluminum cans. So I'll go to trash bins, I go to hotels. But in the course of my search, I realized that nightclubs use a lot of cans. Because when people get in the mood in the night or they are drunk, they also, especially in metropolis like this, it results to fights. And people fight, there's quarrel, and eventually bottles begin to break. And so most nightclubs now use cans. Now, that made me laugh because now I started to notice a change in culture because of the materials I started to use. Yeah, because our culture before was bottles. Now, it's a bit cheaper, yes, but that's not even it all. You see, when they go for parties, and that's what finding them in parties. When they go for parties, bottles disappear. And so you have to pay for bottles. So everybody says you use a can. So because you can discard cans. So I started to go to parties, and then now the problem became that when people realized that somebody is picking this can too, you know what they did? They refused. So as the first time is I come to the party and wait and started to pick while the party is going on. And sometimes people look at me and say, look, this guy is mad. You know, because I didn't come to the party. I came and I was picking cans. And they don't even know who you are, you know, and so they treat you. Hey, sometimes they say, hey, go, get out of here. I'm telling you. So eventually the people who organize the parties, like, you know, the people who, the event planners had people, boys and, you know, girls who helped them. They started to find out that, oh, something was happening. They started to pick the cans and keep themselves. I said, what? What's that? You know, I was just furious. If I'm doing art, I'll be cooking. I love to cook. Yes. Cooking also is very creative. I like, the same thing happens to art when I do art. When I cook, I can wait all day to get the food prepared because the sensation of what will happen after that's what I produce is what turns me on. And so I want to make whatever it is, I get the process right. I'm waiting for the end. I'm waiting for the presentation, everything. When I get to the end, then I can clean my hands and settle down to enjoy it and see other people enjoy it. My kick is that I never know what it will be like when it is finished. That's my kick. And so every day I dream what will happen because I never ever have the end in my mind, which for me is why I enjoy it. I also like to say that once you know the outcome, it didn't come from the spirit. Yeah, once you know the outcome, it didn't come from the spirit. Yeah, it came from the flesh. And we interchange. We go from the flesh to the spirit. And sometimes I can deceive you that it came from the flesh, you think it's from the spirit. But for me, I know. Once it comes from the spirit, you can never know that. It is not possible. And I think that's what makes a very good art.